satellite is very much capable of doing real-time applications. And then lastly, a bit of a new fact is the planned new networks that will be coming in 2022 will offer point-to-point links faster and cheaper than fiber. So a bit of an introduction to satellite, bit of a change in perhaps approaching the subject, and a change in how I promote and perhaps recommend for you to engage with your customers. It's a very wide forum we have today, so we're going to keep the discussions fairly general, and we'll have some questions answered later. You're also welcome to post some questions for us. Either we can answer at the end of the session, or we can answer after the session. We will be recording this session, and we will be posting the link to the recording of this training if you have a friend or colleague that can't attend and would like to attend later, or just view it later. So step number one, you got to know the problem. So step number one is we are selling something that's invisible. So selling something invisible is not an easy task. It's not a new thing. There's lots of people selling invisible stuff today. If you go to your auditor, he's selling you an invisible service. But by and large, it's quite a difficult discussion. It's not tangible. You can't really give it a picture or a specification sheet. Your customer can't really touch it. You can't feel it. So selling an invisible item is a complete new discussion challenge by itself. There's a nice book I can recommend, short read, that actually touches on the topic. And if any of you are actually interested, you're more than welcome. That's would definitely be worth your while. So if we start talking about satellite and we start talking about competitive advantages and promoting satellite services, well, we've got to understand what's the problem. First of all, it's an invisible topic. You are left by and large with perceptions. You are left with hearsay. You are left with understanding from past. And it's very tough for you to actually sell something that's not tangible. So if you wake up today and say, okay, I'm going to sell satellite, you know it's going to be a different challenge. It's an interesting challenge, and it can be quite an easy one in certain ways. It's most certainly just a different way. So the next topic is, you've all known about the myths. This is well known by now. You know the 3 myths of satellite: that it's slow, expensive, and has a latency problem. Well, that's not quite true anymore. With the new high throughput satellites and the Twoobii services, we actually prove those myths wrong. And maybe, and maybe next time I will actually do some case studies and some calculations to share with you how come we actually can say that. So probably when you get to a customer, the first thing he will tell you is that story. No, sorry, I'm not doing satellite. It's slow and expensive, and it doesn't work. So understand that's what the customer is going to say. Explain to him that, well, technology has moved on, and perhaps his perception comes from a past experience. Perhaps it's a current understanding from another angle, and engage with him and talk about education, talk about the technology. And we have done quite a bit of content, by the way. There's a lot of sales documentation on our website. So please go have a look at the website if you want to have any material to address this axiom with your customers. So you're welcome. Then there's 2 rules. So today, basically, we're sharing 3 key elements. The one was the myths. The next 2 is like the 2 rules of selling satellite. And the next 3 is the key advantages or the key benefits, and a couple of rest of the facts. This is point number 2 and 3 I'd like you to realize. What's the rules of selling satellite? Well, rule number 1, if you do not satellite, don't use it. It's a very interesting statement. It sounds a bit like a negative statement, while it's exactly the opposite. This statement helps you to position satellite. Satellite has a very specific role in industry. Satellite's competitive advantages is specifically to its place in the technology roadmap. It is not there to compete with fiber. It's not there to be an alternative for LTE. It's not there to do differently to wireless. satellite, basically, if you don't need satellite, don't use it. Satellite you will need basically for two key reasons. Either it's off-grid. Your customer has an off-grid location. So off-grid means he's off the telco grid. He has no connection. He has no proper fiber or wireless or LTE. So he's an off-grid customer. Then he's your customer. Second requirement, he has a demand for reliability. He has a service that needs a reliable, uptime, high availability service, then he needs satellite. It can be something like point of sale services for merchants. It can be like ATM services. It can be an application, maybe some security surveillance cameras, an application that he really needs high uptime, high availability. So those are your two main categories for selling satellite. So rule number one, if you don't need satellite, don't use it. That's an answer to say, if you have a quote and you're pitching satellite against wireless, well, understand you actually position the product not correctly. The next rule is, if you do need satellite, then use it. It's a fairly simple rule. It means there's no reason you cannot use satellite. It's not expensive. It's not slow. It can handle real time. It is reliable. It's deployable. It works anywhere. It handles video. It handles voice. It handles SD-WAN. It handles security. It basically handles anything. So there's no reason that if you do need satellite that you should not use it. This comes up in discussions with saying, yeah, I really would like to use satellite in this application, but you know what, it's old, or you know what, people normally have general perceptions around satellite. Well, it's not applicable. So the recapping, those are your two rules for satellite. So rule number one is, if you don't need it, don't use it. And with that, I'm wanting to say that satellite has its specific place. It has its role in technology. It's not a fix for all applications, but it has a specific position. And secondly, if it's in that position, it is extremely powerful. So if you do have an application that do need satellite, well, go for it, close the deal, make your customer happy, and provide a good service. So those are the key rules for satellite. Going from there, talking about Twoobii, and when I say, okay, we're going to talk about competitive advantages. We're going to talk about competitive advantages for an invincible product. We're going to talk about competitive advantages for technology that's mostly not that widely used. So where do we start? So I said, okay, there's basically only three competitive advantages I want to share with you. Competitive advantage number one is peace of mind. In a world where your customer can't touch the service, has a lot of perhaps experience in the past, he might have a lot of perceptions in the past. Really, the prime advantage we're bringing to the table is one of peace of mind. It's basically who we are. You can't see the service, but you can't at least see us, even if it's on video, even you can't see me face to face, but this is what we can. It's our name, it's our business, it's our future, and it's our promise to you. So that's the key thing that you can bring your customers. So, okay, we know it's invincible. We know you might have worries. I know you might have concerns. I know maybe you got something cheaper, something different. But you know what? These are the people that will deliver. So we're behind our channel. We're behind the partners. We will basically pull through. So that is key differentiation number one, specifically in the satellite market. The satellite market is not doing itself a favor. We have seen some platforms being launched, and then 2-3 years later, the platforms collapse. We right now in the industry, there's a fairly big launch in the industry, and it's not so clear who's the people behind that platform and who's actually where the buck stop. If I have a problem with that service, who do I call? So, and it's, I think, possible for satellite services because these platforms and technologies operate on global solutions. So a service can operate in a completely different country, on a completely different hub, not in this area, not in this territory, and actually can be sold here. So that for us is part of advantage number one, peace of mind and bringing our name. The next one is skills. Twoobii is a third generation platform. By the way, we've got about 20 years training in doing satellite, and I must specifically call it training. I think our journey will continue. We by far not fully learned and got it all and know it all. But just an interesting fact, we're the guys that actually tested IP over satellite the very, very first time globally. Now, this goes back in 1998, or 98, 99, around about there, with the international partner PanAmSat, did the very first IP over satellite experimental testing. It was done actually in Nigeria. And the QCon engineering team was the on-ground engineering team collaborating, implementing, commissioning, debugging. So IP over satellite, although today it's a 20-year-old technology, there was a time when it was a new thing. Of course, it's not a new thing today, but we've basically got the skills. And even on this platform, we had to send our engineers to get some international certified training. So the skills is behind this platform. So it's a differentiator. It's something we can bring to support the market and a channel. Lastly, on the peace of mind point is control. We actually control this platform end to end, full visibility, proactive support. So the Twoobii platform runs on a global platform, while we have full control, full visibility to actually address concerns, to implement solutions. So that's advantage number one. Probably not the advantage you've expected. It's not a technology, it's not a feature, it's not a cost. I think it's what matters most. It's what's behind the solution, what do you bring to the customer, and ultimately that customer needs to make a decision. The customer needs to say, while he's buying a Twoobii service from you, as opposed to anything else, he's buying Twoobii and he's buying it from you, and why is he buying it? Why is he making that decision? You know, a buying decision is a commitment. Your customer is really sticking out his neck and he's choosing you and he's choosing Twoobii. And what we are telling him is, we are with you. We will pull through, we will deliver. We have been delivering for 30 years and we'll continue to deliver. So that's the key message. Advantage number two is, it's not a service. It's not a satellite access. It's actually an integrated solution. Twoobii is a fairly extensive, integrated, end-to-end ICT bundle. Anything from outdoor Wi-Fi, IP access, SD-WAN. We've got certified on SD-WAN. We understand SD-WANs are fairly different, so we welcome anybody out there close to an SD-WAN architecture. We're welcome to test with you. We're welcome to explore further. The more we can learn about SD-WAN, the better. We have seen some very interesting benefits of that, and of course, it's an architecture that the industry is preferring. So SD-WAN capability, it has a backup option. It integrates with third party. It has powerful event capabilities, which we just recently demonstrated as well. So it has video and voice capabilities. So Twoobii is not a satellite broadband service. It is an integrated solution that's anchored around IP access. We are very open to keep exploring. The more solutions we can create for you, the more third-party equipment we can integrate, the better. We have part of the end-to-end control is we can integrate it to your core, we can integrate it to your voice switches, to your SD-WAN architecture, yours and your customers, or the channels. So Twoobii is a solution. It doesn't, the moment you really gets down to positioning Twoobii as a point, let's say, isolated service against another service, yeah, there's something really wrong. You are actually discounting some significant advantages and you're discounting some significant benefits for your customer if you consider Twoobii only as a broadband internet for a business. It's actually set up and designed to much more. It is by design positioned for this. This is not something we added on. We'll come to the technology platform a little bit later. The technology platform fundamentally enables this. There's also this also why we can't really be the cheapest. There's no drive to be the cheapest. For us, it's about integrating the solution for the customer, for the partners and the channel. So advantage number two is basically the integrated solution, bringing a value contribution to your customer and to you. We are very open to integrate with what our channel can offer. So if you have an existing Wi-Fi solution, welcome to integrate this. If you have your own voice, we use that. So although Twoobii is a bundle, the bundles can be built from your own equipment, from your customer's equipment. So it doesn't have to be from the Twoobii suite. Of course, we're developing more and more of this to enable markets that's looking for that. We're very close on signing off on some other key partners. So always open to create a bundle and create some value for us. The third and last key advantage we want to touch quickly on is the global leading technology. Twoobii is based on a very, very powerful platform. The elements thereof is firstly Intelsat Flex platform, operating on the IS-33 satellites. Now, just to give some context here, IS-33E is the new high throughput satellites that's used. And Flex is where they actually add the equipment and the teleports and the fiber services and build the global platform. It brings a positioning for us in the industry, which is very powerful. It basically allows us, all of you and your end customers, to have some certainty that peace of mind I've talked about, that promises I've talked about. Well, this is part of the backing. The fabric that the platform is running on is a global fabric. iDirect Velocity is the actual modem technology. There is only one Velocity platform in Africa. There's a bit of a reason for that. The reason is it's a fairly complicated, business-orientated platform, ideally created for global solutions. So there's really no application to deploy that in a local telco environment or anywhere else. So the iDirect Velocity platform is a very powerful platform. It has specific business features like the layer 2 over satellite, some quality of services, some management tools we can get. And then with that, we've integrated a lot of platform management tools and a lot of platform monitoring tools so we can do the proactive nature. So in brief, just recapping for you a little bit, is just want to see what's happening. Yeah. First advantage is then peace of mind, basically bringing the promise and assuring the customer about the service, taking it through to applications in the market. Secondly is the integration, the whole integrated solution. And thirdly, the global technology. Those are the key elements we like to communicate and the key anchor points for Twoobii. Going further, I've listed a lot of service benefits. We'll just touch quickly on them. I've limited myself to about 35 minutes. I want to create some questions. If there is, have a discussion. My focus is to keep these very crisp. So equipment cost, the equipment cost, a once-off rental. We make it possible now to do rental models in most of the regions. It lowers the equipment cost. In some cases, we can create bundles with the services. So one service benefit is the equipment cost. It is still a significant element in terms of the quality. We are working on lower equipment pricing. For example, there's in the pipeline a smaller dish, a 75 centimeter dish is coming for certain applications. So that's one element. Then equipment support, we have included repair and replacement in the rental model. So for certain markets where we actually can offer you the complete turnkey model with our partner, this could either be with our channel partners or directly or the structure, but we collectively have created this value to allow the customer to have a full peace of mind type of equation, equipment rented with support and deployments. Support services, there's a host of support services available through our network where we can have annual call outs, in also SADC, and over time we can possibly allow cross-border support and develop that, but it brings the support element to the front. It is again delivering the actual full business value as opposed to just the service. Then 2 out of 5 slides. Then the service quality. We have Twoobii is a non-contented service. Hendrik's next presentation. So your just general info for the forum. We plan to have alternative sessions between myself and Hendrik. The idea would be that my focus would be more around topics like this, possibly now and then talking about the new news coming in, sharing some interesting elements, and Hendrik helping out with specific product training, product production, product features. And we are thinking to have the next training specifically on this point to explain a little bit the contention versus FOOP, the models and the metrics, so we can actually explain to you that Twoobii is a non-contented service. Now, a non-contented service has very specific advantages. You'll see we've done an info sheet as well on that. That's going to go out recently or very soon probably to actually explain that. So having Twoobii as an affordable service while it's a non-contented service is a very big differentiator. It's very powerful. It allows you to specifically define for your customer what you're offering him. It helps us to have a different type of discussion. We can quantify the service. We can qualify the delivery. It's a completely different discussion. On this point, it's quite probably one of the most key confusing element in the industry. It's very easy for people to quote a service at a number. So I can quote a 10 megabit satellite service at 1,000 Rand. Well, it actually boils down to contentions of 150 to 200 to 1. So we have seen that in the industry. We have aware of that. So contention is a very, how long is a piece of string type of discussion. SD-WAN, Twoobii was tested on various third-party SD-WAN platforms. So yes, it is a service benefit that it's SD-WAN capability. And in this sense, just for clarity, the benefit is not really that Twoobii has now a built-in SD-WAN feature. Of course not. The SD-WAN capability sits outside the Twoobii architecture. It's actually part of the customer's environment. It's part of the customer solution. The actual service benefit here is to demonstrate what we can do with this technology. To demonstrate how we can integrate, how we can create architectures, and how we can control the solution. That is the key differentiator here. And this is what is powerful. It's powerful for you. It's powerful for the end users. It's powerful in creating networks out there that adds value and solves problems. Service definition. It's an uncapped type of service, meaning there's no top-ups, there's no running out of caps. Yes, it is a balanced services. Yes, we have to can match the usage versus the cost. So we do have that conflict, while at the same time, voice calls aren't effective, critical financial transactions aren't effective. So in that sense, it is built and designed for business. We have also recently invested in a content platform. So time to come, we can start managing content and the content differentiations around that for certain applications. Perhaps you have a customer with schools or clinics or any sort of maybe educational content, and you guys want to maybe block certain content or prioritize certain content. All that is also going to be possible on Twoobii. So benefit, the third sort of page on this is the free zone. That's applicable to the broadband product, where we actually have the free zone from 12 o'clock at night to 6. Quite a powerful feature for updates, for downloads, for streaming, or some specific content activities. Signal coverage. Twoobii is actually a full Africa coverage. We really can have 100% coverage of Southern Africa, and the region. We ourselves are taking care of the region up until Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, that area. We can help on case-by-case project base for deployments all through Africa. The big win here is there's really no pockets of poor communication in South Africa. It's one of the key differentiators, one of the key service benefits that we can guarantee Twoobii operation anywhere in South Africa. Some of the other platforms have a bit more spot beams and have to compensate for that, and it creates deployment issues. Voice services fully supported. We've talked about that in the past. Then in terms of point of sale services, again, this for us is a very critical performance underlining of Twoobii. This application is where a merchant, it can be a retail shop or maybe a KFC or anybody that needs to have credit card transactions and they don't have reliable 3G. And I'm not sure about you guys' experience, but we have seen 3G becoming quite under pressure. So where 3G used to be a very trusted and effective communication medium in the past, recently we have seen 3G being under pressure for load shedding in South Africa, where the moment there's load shedding, although that's a bit stopped now, we see the towers failing and then we see lack of transactions. So any application, the retail application for point of sale is a powerful solution. And of course, again, although the actual point of sale is external to Twoobii, it's of course not our credit card machines, or neither is the banking solution part of Twoobii. At the same time, it demonstrates how we can integrate Twoobii into solutions. It demonstrates the security of Twoobii. This feature is probably more about security and seamless integration than it is about point of sale services. So that's one of the key points for the point of sale market. And I want to actually invite the channel. This we see as a very, very big market opportunity. Now, generally, only one of the commercial banks has point of sale services in the region of plus 50,000 terminals. Now, generally, we consider 10% of that market as a market that will have poor connectivity, and in that sense, be an off-grid. So, all the statistics we've been tracking and monitoring, 10% of a addressable market is actually off-grid, either poor connectivity or unreliable connectivity. So that brings a target little customer base about 5,000. So in South Africa alone, for one financial institution, we estimate the addressable market for Twoobii point of sale services to be 5,000 sites. Now, the value here is the actual point of sale service, but then you add the bundle. So if you talk to a lodge, the lodge's sticky point, the real reason he would be desperately looking for a solution is because he can't transact. If he has customers that needs to check out and he can't transact, that's a major business concern. It's a business worry. So that will be his main burning point. Of course, once you can help him with that, we can actually then help him with his voice services. We can help him with everybody with the outside Wi-Fi services. So then we can actually integrate a bundle for him. We have some advanced monitoring tools on this page, by the way. QCon per se, we have done a lot to specialize in financial services. The monitoring tools and the monitoring platforms, we can actually help a business partner to manage a network down to a card reader point. So let's say you've deployed a number of sites, and it might be hotels, and hotels have a lot of card readers, swipe machines. So we can actually tell you when that swipe machine is losing connectivity, because maybe the waiter has put it in his pockets and gone to the toilet, or maybe he's going down to the pool, but he's outside the coverage because the coverage stops with a bar. So we have this experience. We've been through some practical, very challenging practical case studies, but it adds value. We can actually monitor that service. So this this by itself is a completely focused target market and focused potential, which differentiate Twoobii from anything else, anything and everything else. So purely this element by itself substantiates the whole Twoobii project for us. Network integration aligns with this, both layer 2 and layer 3 network integration. Layer 2 of the satellite is becoming fairly sort of strong in the industry. It used to be. way back, about 15, 20 years back, there was a Linkway, a Viasat Linkway platform that did layer 2, and then the whole industry just let it go. Nobody did layer 2. And now iDirect Velocity is one of the key platforms that comes out with a layer 2 capability again. The benefit of layer 2 is for the network architect. So the focus here is supporting the network architect, supporting the customer or the customer's network, and the integration. This is making satellite much closer to just a wire. So if we move from a layer 2, which is mostly a routing architecture, and we move to layer 3, which is routing, to layer 2, which is more simplistic architecture, we actually allow the customers to take more control of the network, and we allow them to see satellite as just a link. The reason we want to do that, we want to make it for a network architect or for a solution designer. We might want to make it easy for them to add satellite links. We understand satellite is off-grid. We understand satellite is only going to need it for 10% of his sites. So we really don't want to make life complicated for him just because he needs to add 10 sites on satellite. This is where this layer 2 is becoming very interesting, very powerful. And of course, this maps directly into the SD-WAN thinking and the SD-WAN architecture. If you want to do SD-WAN and you do not have layer 2, you drop about 30% efficiency, and you push the solution to something which is either just working or just not working. So that is quite a key differentiator in the market. Network core location, of course, Twoobii's head end is located in, we terminate in and interconnect at Jericho. So it's local, it is in South Africa, it's available in close proximity to all the local networks, even our friends in Mozambique, in Zambia, Botswana, Namibia. Jericho is almost in everybody's backyard, and most organizations, most customers have a link to Jericho. So there is a very strong chance that that is a beneficial integration point for everybody. It is, of course, the main reason why we can create these end-to-end solutions. It's the main reason why we can develop customer-specific applications, because we have the control of the networks basically end-to-end. So we can use your IPs, for example. You use your customers' IPs. Those are all seamless integration. Talking service benefits is coming to the last point. It's a bit of a copy from the first. It's basically the engineering and the credibility. So that's behind Twoobii. We've touched on that right in the beginning. Basically summarizing so that is the summary from my point. So if we're on a recap, just quickly going back. So if you remember the rules number 1 is only need it. If you don't need it, don't push it. So in that sense, do not position any satellite. This is not Twoobii specific. Don't position it as something against wireless or against fiber. It's not meant to do that. It's meant to address a very specific solution. Those solutions are off-grid and primary availability. So high availability and high delivery type of services. And secondly, if you do need it, use it freely. It works, it's operate, it's cheap, it's reliable, and all the good news. And then the other 2 key advantages is the peace of mind, the integrated solution, and the global technology. That's all from my side, everybody. Any questions? Hendrik, did we get questions coming through?
Not yet, Davy. Guys, thank you very much for your attendance. You're welcome now, while we've got the master brain here, to throw your questions and see how we can answer them.
Just on this point, sometimes I understand questions can be either customer-centric or application-specific, and then we can also address them later.
Davy, this is Etienne. If I may, and ask, you've made a point about somewhere in the near future that you're looking at 75 centimeter antennas.
Yes.
Just as a basic point around that, would that then, say for South African market, would that be an antenna that you can use anywhere in South Africa, so the availability will still perform as good, or is it going to be more to centers of beams, so you'll have more than one hardware set in general?
It will be everywhere. We're steering away from making it region-specific or area-specific. For us, it complicates the whole deployment and service delivery. It will have some service definitions around it. We see the 74 centimeters specifically helping to drive that point of sale market. So it might have an uplink limitation, for example. Currently, we're doing 3 megs uplink. By the way, we're also working to a 5 meg uplink soon, but we might link it to maybe just 1 meg. The issue about 75 centimeters about uplink, just as a reference, the downlink speeds is not effective. It's not the design criteria, but the uplink will be effective. For that reason, and we can do quite a bit on the equipment cost. It's equipment cost that we're hoping to better with that, and it's deployment. We do see that landlord approvals are something that we're battling with. Generally, landlord approvals can be a tricky thing to get. And as we want to ramp up the deployments and as we want to ramp up the number of sites we deploy, we want to make it easier to get a landlord approval. So the 74 centimeters becomes a little more palatable for the landlords.
Yes, thank you. I think that makes sense, especially if some of the projects nowadays are driven around IoT and those solutions as well. It's the CPE cost. I mean, if you can bring that part down, then it makes it a bit more lucrative and attractive.
If you are in the IoT market, please talk to us. We are also working on that option to create bundles and see how we can bring it feasible. Of course, the traffic of IoT, and we'll be talking about new services on the IoT market, which is not Twoobii, but which is actually a more, let's say it looks like, it's a bit smaller than a laptop for the IoT market.
Okay, we'll definitely engage on that because we're very actively now in that market. So definitely, I've had discussions with Elliot, but we can take it off and discuss a bit more then.
Yeah, please do. It's fairly new. I've actually just last week got the update that their services will come, and those services are fairly limited. But anyway, we're exploring, we're pushing, we're developing solutions.